You also talk about making fewer big infrequent bets.
Yes.
Who's that relevant for, and in what context?
So one of the things that Warren Buffett says, he says that you get a punch card, which you can punch 20 times in your lifetime. And each time you buy a stock, it's one punch that's gone. So what Warren is saying is, if there was a rule which said that you cannot buy more than 20 stocks in your whole life, what would happen is you would be very thoughtful about what you bought. Okay, and chances are those decisions might be good decisions because you only have 19 left, and then you only have 18 left, etc. So in venture investing, a very small sliver of companies that venture capitalists invest in do well, right? The high burnout rate. And if we look at the stock market, 4% of listed companies generate 90% of the return. So most companies that we may think about investing in are likely not to do well for us. It's a 96% odds. That's why the index is so important, is when you buy the index, you bought that 4%. And if you go pick stocks, you have 1 in 25 chance of getting one of those 4%.
If you can understand a very small sliver of things and you know when those things get overpriced and underpriced, that's all you need.
Right.
John Arriaga was a billionaire. He passed away maybe like 2-3 years ago, pretty recent. Anyway, John Arriaga basically had a very narrow circle of competence. He didn't understand most things, but he only invested in real estate within 2 miles of the Stanford campus. Okay, that's all. Usually just right around the campus. And if you walked with him around the campus, every single building, he could tell you the full history of the building. When it was built, what the current value was, what the rents were, who the owners were, and what the history was.
Right.
He knew that about every building. And, so he was an inch wide and a mile deep. And that is a really good trait for an investor, is to be very narrowly focused.
Right.
Right. Now, what John Arriaga did is he ran, generally speaking, a very under-levered portfolio. His portfolio always not much debt. When the downturns came, he aggressively bought up because all these distressed properties around, this is the most prime real estate you can think of, other than Park Avenue or something. Okay. And so he would just buy these things up when everyone was getting foreclosed and bankrupt, and go to the banks and buy it from them and all of that. And then, get them all leased and fair value and all of that. Again, take the leverage down. And again, next down cycle, again, the same thing. And he stuck to that. So the thing is, he didn't wander into, let me go to Mountain View and do it.
Right.
Okay, or let me go to Irvine, California and do it. He didn't do all that. He's basically, let me invest in tech or something.
Yeah.
He didn't do any of that. He stuck to real estate. That's all he did. And he did it extremely well. And he died a billionaire. We don't need to know many things about many things. We need to know a lot about a little. That's the important thing.
Right.
Know a lot about a little. Right. So like, for example, if I'm looking at Frontline, I should learn everything I can about shipping. I should learn everything I can about oil shipping, about tankers, about the history, who makes them, and every nuance about them. Right. The deeper I go, the better it's going to be for me.
Right.
Okay. I shouldn't be spending time next week on airplanes. Okay. Just leave it alone, like one by one by one. I think it was Nick Sleep who has this quote. He said, the best investors are entrepreneurs who never sold. So if you think about entrepreneurs, that's what they are. They are John Arriaga, right? So if I look at Sam Walton is John Arriaga. All he did was retail. All he did was visit competitor stores. He never bothered anything else. We had a great Indian investor, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, who passed away recently. And Rakesh was an interesting split brain. On one side, he was always with 4 screens in front of him and did a bunch of rapid fire trading and all kinds of stuff. On the other hand, he had some positions that he never touched for decades. I think he had Titan for 25 plus years. And Titan used to be like 4% of his portfolio. When he passed away, it's like a multi-billion-dollar position. So Rakesh could have been wrong on 96% of his portfolio. 96% could have gone to 0. He still would have had half his wealth. And he would have had half his wealth so he never managed money for others. He never, until he started this
Asaka Air or whatever. He never really had a real business he was running. And that non-controlling interest in Titan, he loved the Tatas. He just loved the governance and everything else with the Tatas. Ended up with a great result. And all he had to do was just be patient and do nothing. And it worked. So basically, we don't need to be right a lot. We just need to pay attention when 7 moons line up. So there are times when you look at some things and you say, wow, this looks amazing, this is obvious, this is whatever. And you can step up and hit that ball. And you don't need to hit too many balls, and you don't need to have a high hit rate on those. It can work out pretty well.
In the stock market, the magic happens when you water the flowers and cut the weeds. Keep the winners, remove the losers. It's the simplest rule, yet the most powerful one. Own only what you deeply understand and keep your portfolio small, sharp and focused. Because a concentrated portfolio built inside your circle of competence outperforms a scattered basket every single time. Once you have picked the right businesses, your job is not to interfere. Let the compounding quietly do what it does best. Trim the bad stocks without mercy. Nurture the great ones with patience. And you will be shocked at how fast wealth grows when you stop chasing everything and start backing only your strongest ideas.